I want you to imagine Lagos in 1960. Not the Lagos you are stuck in today, the gridlock, the honking, the potholes. Imagine a city where some of the roads you now dread were once quiet stretches of asphalt, where the sounds you associate with Lagos, the traffic, chaos, congestion, didn't dominate every waking moment. You see, back then, Lagos was still a small capital city, bustling in its own way, sure, but nothing like the megacity it would become. It was a place of opportunity but also of space. People walked, bicycles were common, and a drive that now takes hours could once be done in minutes. At independence in 1960, Lagos was Nigeria's capital with a population of roughly 763,000 people, about the size of some local government areas today. It was part port town, part administrative center, and not yet the urban behemoth it would rapidly transform into. However, over the decades that followed, Lagos began to mutate. The oil boom, rural urban migration, and repeated waves of people coming from all corners of Nigeria changed everything. Its population exploded from under a million in 1960 to over 2 million by 1970, a growth of almost double in just 10 years. And then there was the surging into the tens of millions by the 21st century. Today, estimates place Lagos in the 17 to 20 million range, making it one of the fastest growing cities on earth. But that growth didn't come with a master plan. Roads, drainage systems, housing, and public transit weren't rebuilt fast enough. What was an orderly, human skilled city began to buckle under its own success. Traffic that would have been unthinkable in 1960 became the daily reality. Slums spread where planners never designed infrastructure, and flooding became an almost predictable yearly ordeal. Before we go on, we'd like to say a big thank you to everybody that supported the channel from our launch date in February till now. We have a lot of exciting new stuff coming to you in 2026 and we cannot wait for you to see it. We also noticed something else. About 97% of you who watch this channel are not subscribed. Subscribing to the channel would help us to grow the channel and also keep bringing quality content your way. Now back to the video. Lagos in the 1960s was almost unrecognizable compared to the sprawling megacity it is today. At the time, Lagos was not just an economic center, it was actually the nation's capital, serving as the administrative heart of independent Nigeria. The roads were fewer, the buildings lower, and daily life moved at a different pace. Most transport was by land and waterway, and while there were cars, the numbers were far lower than today, meaning traffic was minimal, at least by modern standards. Over the next decade, though, Lagos's population more than doubled, rising to over 2 million by 1970 as people from rural areas and other parts of Nigeria migrated to the city in search of opportunity. By the time Nigeria moved its capital to Abuja in 1991, Lagos was already transforming rapidly. In the 1960s through 1980s, infrastructure didn't keep up with the city's exploding population at all. Population growth was dramatic, going from around less than 1 million in 1963 to over 4 million by 1982, and eventually more than 10 million by 2009. This kind of growth, which experts show continued at an extraordinary pace, was driven by rural to urban migration and internal movement from across Nigeria and even surrounding countries. Traffic in Lagos is now infamous, but that's not because Lagosians love to drive slowly. The truth is structural. The city's road infrastructure was built for a fraction of the people now living here. Where roads in the 1960s carried thousands of vehicles per day, today they carry millions, competing with urban sprawl, informal settlements, and inadequate transport planning. By some estimates, Lagos State's population has ballooned to over 15 million people. Some even say that it's over 17 million by now, and that by informal standards it might be even closer to 22 million. This population explosion has far outpaced improvements in transit systems, leading to chronic congestion on key arteries like the Third Mainland Bridge or the Apapa Oshodi Expressway. One of the most visible signs of Lagos's explosive growth is the proliferation of slums and informal settlements. In 1991, a World Bank project identified about 42 slum communities in Lagos State. Fast forward to more recent decades, and estimates show Lagos now has well over 100 slum communities spread across the metropolis, places where infrastructure and services simply haven't kept up with demand. Much of this is tied to planning challenges. Rapid urbanization outpaced any realistic zoning strategy, leaving millions to settle in makeshift housing without proper roads, sanitation, or utilities. Lagos is built on low-lying coastal terrain composed of lagoons, creeks, and wetlands, often just a few meters above sea level. This geographical reality has always made the city vulnerable to flooding. But when you combine that with the explosive urban growth and inadequate drainage, you get flooding that affects millions every rainy season, especially in congested neighborhoods where natural drainage has been blocked or paved over. Studies also show that areas across Lagos, including Ikeja, Agege, and parts of Victoria Island and Lekki, have experienced repeated flood events largely because the city's infrastructure cannot keep up pace with its population and land use change. Today, Lagos isn't just Nigeria's biggest city, it's one of sub Saharan Africa's most important economic centers. Lagos's economy drives much of Nigeria's GDP, and its port facilities and business districts make it a hub for commerce, trade, and innovation. And even though the city has recognized its planning challenges, projects like Eco Atlantic City that have been constructed to reclaim land from the Atlantic and provide new commercial and residential space have proven to not be very effective for the vast majority of people because they are very expensive and only few Lagosians can actually afford them. And so the legacy of rapid growth without coherent urban planning remains visible in traffic snarls in slums like Makoko and in neighborhoods still struggling with fundamental services. Lagos's journey from a relatively small colonial capital in 1960 to a sprawling megacity today tells a powerful story about urbanization migration, but it's also a cautionary tale, one of how growth without planning can even strain some of the most vibrant cities. If this decade of Lagos's evolution tells us anything, it is that the city needs infrastructure, planning, and vision that matches its restless energy and unbound potential.